Welcome, my name's Alexandria and I'd like to talk to you today about asperging, smudging and creating sacred space. Most of you will be familiar with some of the basics like a smudge bundle. This one's a bit large because this is made out of Australian gum leaf, so it's going to be on the larger side because they're very large leaves. What most of you may not be familiar with is the rest of these items. These three here are various sizes and forms of sensor. So these would be used to put things safely in, like your commercial cones, and burn them for basic things, for when you're sort of, I guess, meditating or doing other things. However, this one here is different because it has a handle, so you can carry this one throughout your house and do a house cleansing with it. Great because it keeps the heat away from your hands. And yes, this is still called a sensor because it doesn't have what the other types, the handle on above you. When the handle is above you, this is called a thurible. Some of you may be familiar with these if you've ever been to an Anglican or a Catholic Mass. And they sit above and you hold them like so, and they're then swung around from the top in a familiar ways, often used with frankincense, and that is different. But before we go into more about how to cleanse and asperge and create your sacred space, I wanted to talk to you a bit about this idea of why we need to cleanse. Most people will begin, the first thing they'll begin talking about is negativity and negative energy, and how they need to clear out that negative energy and things like that. Well, I want to propose a new idea to you. It's not about negative energy. Okay, there are places that hold negative energy, such as when you see roadside signs where somebody's erected a memorial to somebody who's passed away, or certain places that people consider haunted, and certain places like old asylums and that will, of course, have some very negative and nasty energy attached. But most places, we're not dealing with this. For most places, the idea of creating sacred space is a blank energy. So you're basically removing all energy, positive or negative. The way so that you can, so the only energy that is input into that space and then released is what you've created. Think of it this way. It's like clearing the table before a project. There may be things that are great on that table that are neither positive nor negative. They may be very useful for other activities, but they're not useful for your work. And this is what we're talking about here. We're talking about your work, your practice, your daily practice, or your ritual practice, and to start creating sacred space in an area that you know is has some really negative stuff attached to it would just be nonsensical to me. We go to areas that we know that we like and we enjoy and that feel good to us, and as a group and as a coven, and we go to those areas if they feel calm, if they feel welcoming, if they feel all those sorts of things. We'll go there. No point in going somewhere that's already got something that you have to fix. But again, as I said, it's about removing all energy, so you then it's only either as a solitary or as a group, it's the energy that you create and move forward from there. In addition to this, I have found over the years that most people aren't even aware how to use something simple and basic like charcoal stick or resins. And these can be very powerful and useful. For example, I collected these resins locally from the pine trees at a time when they were producing a lot of sap. So they're local to the area, which is good, and they're fresh, and I know that which is good because they'll be very purifying. And yeah, they just generally create a great energy, and I know that there's something that I've found and put energy into getting for myself, so that also helps because I've put the energy into finding them, into harvesting them and bringing it home. Of course, doing no harm to the tree. It doesn't harm the tree to take the little bit of sap that's oozed. There was a lot of them in this area, that's why I have such a big bottle. And this we can use in either the thurible or a censer like this. But before we do that, we really need to get our charcoal going, and you can just buy a roll of charcoal from all of these items come from any New Age, spiritual, Wiccan store, esoteric store, easily obtainable online. So then I find the easiest way I've found to do this is that you can get, to heat up your charcoal block, is that you need to get a pair of tongs. These are just ice tongs that I found in a charity shop. And I'll place them over top of my large pillar candle that I made myself. And I'll just wait until that starts, and I'll place it over the flame like so. And what I'm looking for and waiting for is not just the sparks that you can see starting, but I want it to start to glow red. I might even help it along with a little bit of breath using the element of air while I'm waiting for this to really get going. Placing it right over the heat, turning it upside down to get that heat really going right through the brick. This takes time, but all craft work that's worthwhile. But during this time, you're building up your energy of your work. You're building up the energy that it takes to continue your work. The energy is continuing to build as you focus your intention on what's to come and your preparations. Yes, I know we'd all love to get to the chase, cut to the chase. Sometimes we don't have time for this, and that's when I'll use other methods like my smudge bundles or something that I've already created, and then I don't have to worry about it. So you can see it's starting to smoke. And I'm just starting to get a little bit of white, which means that I can see that the embers are starting to form. And it's starting to become an ember. And when I start to blow on that, it will grow and grow and grow. So you're using the element of fire, using the element of air, basically to proceed and smudge. I'll just come closer to the camera so you can see what I'm doing now. Can you see that red on the brick? So once you think it's really well alight, select a few small pieces. Now just be careful you don't drown out your charcoal. You don't need a lot of resin. You really only need small amounts at a time. Be prepared though with a small container to just add a little bit more as you progress. Charcoal's not quite ready because it's not starting to smoke. Sorry guys, I'll just be a moment. So I can show you the end result, and then yeah, basically that's it. Like I said though, you just really want to think about your space. Is it a good space? Is it something that you've used before? Is it a place that you've had good memories in? You know, does it already have some positive energy? Well, if it does, and that's good, you don't have to remove the positive energy if you think it will be good for your work, if you think it will be applicable to whatever you're going to do. The reason I talked about removing all energy is that you just don't want something. It's like having clutter and baggage that you just don't need for your work. So that book that's sitting on the table, it's great, but you don't need it. You don't necessarily need it for that job. I think we might be getting somewhere now finally. Select a small amount of resin. To go. And you can see now that that's starting to smoke successfully. You can see the smoke coming up from it now. So you pop your lid on top. You walk into all your spaces, and this is really good for getting into every little bit of space that you've got. And don't forget, these can get quite hot. So it's always good to have something solid to put them back down on, or somewhere like a cutting board or a altar tile, and these can be made cheaply. It can be just a slice of wood, but that'll stop and make sure that nothing else gets damaged, because the last thing you want to do is to have a great ritual and then find that you've damaged something with your tools. Well, I hope this has provided you with some insight into cleansing, smudging, asperging, or clearing your sacred space and just creating it and getting it ready. And it's just a purification of your area, a purification of yourself. And don't forget, purify yourself too. You can anoint yourself, you can have a ritual bath, you can do all those things beforehand, and just really, really prepare your mind and body, because we're talking about mind, body and spirit, for your work. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again.